I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain.
If I look like a zombie, it's because I am. Hello and welcome to the second part of my January Pages Challenge reading vlog. If you haven't seen the first part, you might want to go and watch that instead, because this is me realising that I'd already filmed a little bit too much content and needed to rectify the situation by splitting it up from the 1st to the 15th of January in the last vlog and the 16th onwards in this one. So let's get started, shall we? Even though the bar is sadly no longer at 100% on the Storygraph app, I will be trying my hardest to continue to read every other day of this month, and we'll see where that takes me. I mean, I hope I can do it. I'm somewhat terrified because I'm now back in Cambridge and the days are so hectic. Really, it's amazing that I sometimes have time to breathe, let alone read. So the book that I am currently reading as of yesterday evening is The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. I've only read a couple of chapters, but I'll be honest with you, the vibes are immaculate so far. Truly love it. Truly, I'm just like, yes, please let me have these little vignettes of different people's lives, and from the perspective of the cat, who clearly just like wants to vibe and is just loving their human, and it's just so wholesome. I have to say, one small kind of slightly discombobulating part was the way that it's been translated, because I was expecting Japan, you know? I went into this expecting it to be set in Japan by a Japanese author, therefore to have Japanese cultural artifacts that I might not know that much about. I was expecting it. That's fine. That's why we read books from different places. But instead it's translated into more kind of British English idioms. And so on like page 3, he uses the word mate. And it threw me for an utter loop. I was like, what is going on? But after a bit, I got used to it. And now it just reads, first of all, very sweet, but secondly, actually very funny. I was genuinely grinning while reading it. So overall, I'm just so buzzed about this book so far.
Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time I'm alright.
Okay, it's the 20th of January and I have just finished The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa, and it was so emotional. It's fine. I need to get on with reading some really quite difficult economics articles, so this is not the time to be like just breaking down, but here we are. So I've continued to be successful with the January Pages Challenge since my little sickness episode last week. I'm really enjoying reading. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. It was just so wholesome and so moving, and it made magic in everyday moments, and it was from the perspective of a cat. Oh, and the next book I'll be starting is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, because the university library in Cambridge does a book club apparently, which I didn't know about. It's kind of a once a month thing, and their next meeting is next Tuesday, and I was like, do you know what? Any excuse to read more, I'm here for it. Although unfortunately the library didn't have a copy, so I went to Waterstones yesterday, bought one, accidentally bought a second book as well, but we don't need to talk about that. I'm looking forward to starting it. I've heard very good things, so I'll let you know.
I'm not falling. I'll push all my chips and call all in. I'll bet on myself, you keep stalling. I hear destiny and it's calling. I'll keep my head up. Still nobody knows, but I'ma choose what's right and take what comes and goes. And ain't no one in life holding me back no more. I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
I look like I've just been in a hurricane. If I look like a zombie, it's because I am. Hello and welcome to me. It's the 27th of January now, so we're getting there. We're nearly done. January is, ending soon, and thus far we've been largely successful. I am still reading every day, except for the ones I was sick, but we're going to forget about those. I am enjoying myself. Like, this is definitely prompting me to read more than I otherwise would have, especially back here in this magical, mystical, ridiculous world of Cambridge. The ability for me to read has varied somewhat during the month. At the beginning, when I had the time to read all day, every day, I was reading 100, maybe 200 pages in a day. But then here I am, and like one of the days this week, I read only 5 pages. So it really varies, and that is because I am ridiculously busy and so tired. I am not reading as much here. I'm trying. I keep carrying my book with me to lunch and dinner and like sitting in the hall, trying to live like an aesthetic life. But then, people keep talking to me. Like, I want them to, obviously, these are my friends. When else am I going to read? I don't have the time to sleep at this point, let alone read. That's a lie. I do have the time to sleep. I just keep doing other things instead because I'm stupid. Right, the reading. I'm still reading Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. The book club that I mentioned it was for was on Tuesday, on the 25th. But I obviously wasn't done by then. I'm still not done. I was about halfway through. It was still very interesting being part of the discussion, and I even spoke, which is wild. There were like 200 people on that Zoom call. But the issue is that, frankly, I don't really understand the hype for this one. I might be sacrilegious in saying that, but even listening to Hester Lees Jeffries, who's like the expert in this stuff, she's like an expert in early modern, like medieval literature. So she knows all about Shakespeare, she knows all about the era. And she was talking about how well done it was, the historical accuracy, how interesting the characterization was, how there were like in-jokes of Shakespearean stuff in the book. And I was like, cool. But also, I don't understand how the book is good outside of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's good. I'm reading it. I'm enjoying it. But is it going to stay with me? Is it particularly sticking out to me? No. I honestly think that the kind of big selling point is the fact that it's tangentially related to Shakespeare, and otherwise it's just another book. The Travelling Cat Chronicles that I read the other day is like far superior in my opinion. And so I'm appreciating it, but am I gonna put this on my favourites list? No. At first I was like really intrigued by the main character Agnes, who's like Shakespeare's wife essentially, but she is kind of given this very interesting personality and backstory and all these things. She's essentially like a healer. She kind of knows witchcraft and all these things, and it's very interesting and very well done. And it's written with such an attitude of like reality, even in its spiritual moments, that it reads like anthropology. It reads like someone who is like completely suspending disbelief. But the problem is that like it goes too far. At first I thought it was like interesting, she was quite a out of the box character, modern, but not in a way that I thought was wish fulfillment. I thought she was just like a bit strange for the era. But then after a bit I was like, okay, but this is unrealistic in a different way. Like, she's unrealistically capable at literally everything. She knows literally everything. She does literally everything. And I'm like, okay, too far now. You can be cool, Agnes, but if you can literally like foresee everything. Also, she is a healer, but like, she is a healer with traditional medicine, and there are going to be occasions that it doesn't work, no matter how capable she is, which I assume she is. But like, it writes as if she is like this all-powerful mystic who can literally heal every single thing that anyone comes to her with. And I'm like, are you telling me she could literally cure like heart disease in 1596? Because if she could, there should have been many more books written about her, you know? And I'm not even talking historical accuracy to the character, I'm talking historical accuracy to the era. Like, it just went too far, and that was to make it special and unique and to give the story kind of more flavour. But I'm like, the flavour is unrealistic. I haven't finished yet, and obviously I do appreciate that like part of the kind of the hype for this book is around the death. I'm only on 257, and that's like just the beginning of part 2 where the deaths happened. So I understand I haven't had all the funereal scenes and all these things which are supposed to be like devastating. So I'm looking out for that and I'm intrigued, but like, again, I still just don't think this is going to be the kind of brilliant book of the year that it's cited as. At least not for me. Maybe my opinion will change. There's still a lot of pages to go. Oh, also in other news, I joined the library because I'm a cool kid. The library being the Cambridge one. I was looking for Last Night in the Telegraph Club, I'll be honest with you, but instead I found whatever the hell that is. But it looked interesting, and it's like a new... And now I'm part of the library forever and ever, so I just have to like remember to give the books back. Well, hello there. It is now the 27th of January, so we have progressed one more day, but I have in fact now finished Hamnet by Maggie, which is good, because it really was a kind of good book, not great book for me. In conclusion, I didn't think it was fantastic, and I don't know if it deserves Waterstone's Book of the Year 2020. The historical detail was pretty amazing. I mean, I read the author's note at the back that explains the level of research she did, which is impressive, but it's also like, that doesn't wow me as much as a really innovative or kind of heart-wrenching story would have done, and I just don't think it hit me in the way that it's supposed to, and in fact it's hit others, so this one just wasn't for me. I think fan fictions have done it better. So in the end I gave it 3.5 stars, and that's that. So I have another update on the other book I've been reading, which is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I say reading, but I'm using that term very loosely because I actually haven't picked it up in, you know, a couple of weeks maybe since I was on the train here. That's just because I'm not pulled to read it. I'm avoiding reading it. In fact, that's been the story this whole month. In fact, is I keep avoiding reading this, and in doing so reading other things. So maybe at some point I have to just accept and move on. But I don't know, I'm not usually in the habit of DNFing books. I'm only just over 200 pages through, and you know, it feels like I should be giving it more of a shot, but on the other hand, it's a absolutely massive book, and if I'm finding it drags, then maybe that just means I need to stop and, you know, read other things that are genuinely interesting. So I don't know. The story I'm getting, both from my own experience reading it and from others talking about it, is that like what this book does well is giving you really vivid, slow detail of all the characters across the series, which means that like if you already have read the series, then it's so comforting going back to and reading again, because there's so much time and space to be with these characters. But then on the other hand, reading it for the first time, I'm like, please get on with it. Like, I'd like the story to progress a little bit faster than it is. Do I DNF it? Do I not? I'll update you on that one. But in the absence of having to pick up The Eye of the World again, I'm going to start my next book, which is The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman. I have no idea about this. I've never heard of it before. I literally just picked it up because I went to the library, but then they didn't have the Last Night at the Telegraph Club, which I was looking for, and they had this on the shelf of kind of new YA releases. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm intrigued. I love a sibling relationship. I love a quest. So let's give it a go. And it's a very short one. It doesn't appear to be much more than a couple of sittings reads. So that'll be nice to kind of just add a little bit of flavour, add a little bit of spice, if you will, before I move on to something else. that may be a bit heavier, because I have quite a few kind of slightly chunkier classics on my shelf, which I love reading, but obviously they need to be spaced out with more light-hearted content.
Each and every day, the past is where it stays. Way back a year ago. Way back a year ago.
And there we have it. It's the 31st of January today, and I have just uploaded my reading for the day, which means it's, drumroll please, the end of the January Pages Challenge. I'm proud of reading a bit every day. I'm proud of the fact that this gave me a push to carry a book around with me, even if I didn't actually end up reading very much any day. It meant that I had it on me, and you know, if I was going to lunch without someone else, reading time. If I was chilling in the evening, reading time. And do you know what? It's been very good. It's been good for my mind, it's been good for my soul, and it's also been good for my Storygraph reading balance. So overall, I'm feeling very positive about this thing, and thanks Storygraph for putting it on, I guess. To give some final updates, I am still reading The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman, and I have to say, thus far, I'm not thinking it's a particularly well-written story. I was extremely hopeful, but at the moment it's falling somewhere within the kind of 2 to 3 star realm. I'm 200 pages in, so about halfway, and unless things pick up, it's not going to be, you know, a particular favourite, but it's been good. To give a bit of an update on what the story is about, now I actually know, it's about an alternate Indian subcontinent where there's the introduction of magic, which means that sort of place names and political systems are different than they otherwise are in the real world. So it's alternate reality, but kind of following a lot of the kind of cultural traditions and styles of dress and things like that of India today, which is very interesting as a setting, and I'm really appreciating that. But I think the story construction is a bit lacking. There's supposed to be a quest, and the quest has only just started halfway through the book, which is not quite the thing. And I have to be honest, I think having 4 different POVs, all of which are very short, you know, there's a kind of a few pages and then it switches perspective. And I've just been finding that it means I'm not particularly connected to any of the characters. I don't really care about any of them so much yet. So I think it would have been stronger if it had been from one perspective, or maybe 2, or actually if the author in general were a little bit better at the whole show don't tell thing, information and sort of what other characters are doing are told to you so easily, especially because the point of view keeps changing. So I think that there's some issues with this book, but I'm not mad about reading it. It's still a bit of a vibe. I'm still intrigued with how it's going to end, so yeah. But in the interests of a final full update, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, 6.5 really, this month, which is absolutely brilliant, and I'm very proud of that because frankly that's way more than I usually do, especially when I'm in Cambridge. That has been a very obvious positive outcome of this thing. The books I've read have ranged from 3.5 to 5 stars, which has been fun as well. And I found a new favourite, The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa, which honestly is just gorgeous and one of the most brilliant things I've read. So that's a win as well. In terms of other reading challenges, I have accomplished 1 Read Around the World challenge, which was Japan, also Travelling Cat Chronicles, and I have achieved 2 Decades challenge, which were the 1850s with The Scarlet Letter and the 1930s with Death on the Nile. So all in all, had a bit of variety, had a good time. And that's kind of everything for me from January and the January Pages Challenge. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed part 1 as well. And please let me know if you have any thoughts on the books I've mentioned, or if you have any recommendations based off what I've said about these books. And yeah, I'm really glad that you joined me and can't wait to see you again on this channel soon. Bye everyone, and have a good day.